Commencing the proceedings of the day, we have Gaurav Rakshit, Chief Operating Officer, Viacom 18 Digital Ventures, who will deliver the opening keynote address. Welcome, Gaurav. Welcome to ScreenX 2021.
Good morning, everyone. I hope you're settled in to an armchair somewhere, sipping on a hot cup of tea. Very pleased to be able to do this session at all. Truth be told, it's a whole lot easier in person. You can see your audience face to face, watch them nod off during the bits, the boring bits especially, and course correct as you go. But this is the new, so let's get started. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the OTT industry and some of the stuff that we're working on. It is in India on the cusp of becoming a mainstream disruptor of the media and entertainment industry in India, right? There's no two people that have different points of view on that. The ad-supported free VOD consumption engine is well underway. Hundreds of millions of users, trillions of minutes of watch time, but the subscription revolution is just getting started. Many of you think that we're already there. People should be willing to pay. And in some segments of society, you're absolutely right. In fact, if you're listening to this session, you probably belong to the segment that has already tipped. But the truth is, you only represent a microcosm of Indian society that is now willing to pay for digital content. Sure, they access paid services through bundles, data plans, but reach into wallet to pay for a digital media service? That's not so much. Outside of subscribers for cricket, which is this country's most secular religion, direct subscriber volumes are in the millions. That's certainly not very impressive. So what does that mean for us as an industry? It's clear that we will grow exponentially for the next few years as consumer paying habit catches up with the platform's ability to deserve it. And I say deserve it because I do think it's a journey for all of us to deserve that consumer's money. It's tempting to try and, solve world hunger with something that's very prescriptive in nature. But I really think that it's a journey and we're all in this together. So what I'm going to do in this address is outline 4 principles which I use at Voot to set course for a brand new tomorrow. While it's tempting to think that content is what we place at the center of the industry, and it does find its way into everything we do and think, but at the center always is the user. I hope these principles will be of some help to you as you design your plans to architect the future of OTT as an industry for your users, your teams. So here goes. The first principle is a somewhat counterintuitive bracing principle, which is set course wisely in line with your appetite and life stage. It's very tempting to try and do more. There's a bunch of OTT services out there and more to come. And it is a great opportunity, but it's really important to know your own mission. It's very easy to get swayed by what's cool and sexy, especially in the microcosm we inhabit. We start to lose focus on our true mission. At Voot, these past few years have been critical to make the transition from a bootstrapped service to a good business and brand. It would have been very tempting to play directly for greatness. But candidly, it would belie the understanding of where we are and what it takes to be truly great. This journey has forced us to focus on the things that we decided mattered most. And it actually forced us to turn a blind eye to many of the tenets that are really important for greatness. But it would have thrown our organization completely off course. By way of example, we've reduced focus on large, expensive content properties. which typically suck up disproportionate attention across all the teams in a system. And that was in favor of building a more compelling, more engaging platform and service. It's an extremely difficult choice, especially coming, once again, as I mentioned, from the microcosm that we all belong to. We're all exposed to what we think of as great, even though they have journeys of their own. But the journey to good isn't a walk in the park either. And it's not a compromise victory. It's what we set out to achieve. Our markers of success are actually what keep us going. We do now have the highest levels of engagement in the industry. We have the best unit economics in the industry. Brand strength has tripled vis-a-vis competition. We managed to launch 2 subscription services, Voot Select and Voot Kids, all born into lockdown actually, and very focused on specific audiences. These are all incredibly valuable assets for the journey ahead, our journey from good to great. The second principle I like to use extensively all across everything we look at is obsess about tomorrow's user. It's a tempting and very common occurrence in terms of, focus on the user. But I think it's especially hard to focus on tomorrow's user. The articulation of our second principle is inspired by our recent foray into streaming football on Voot. Play the ball into the space where the user will be, not where the user is. We do need to obsess about what is it telling us. What do they want? What will they want? Are they able to unscramble this complex maze we set out of them, which is the sum and substance of all our intentions? For example, in the content space, shouldn't we explore whether users are really happy when we leave a web series unfinished at a critical hook point and, only sort of give resolution in season 2? Is that really being fair? Is that really listening to our users? Is that what they want? Is there a better way to straddle their satisfaction and our desire, obviously, to build a franchise show? It's also important to keep abreast of trends outside of content, not just in media viewing habits, but any digital behavior. These worlds tend to migrate much more fluidly than they did in the past. Social watching is here, but how do we make it truly social? So many times our users are adopting parallel tech to actually engage socially while watching content. Look at something like gamification. It's not manipulation, for Gen Z. Gamification is here to stay. It can enrich an experience. I don't know how much we're learning from these trends that will take over the world in a few years. What about mood-based content consumption? Do we have any point of view on that? How are we looking to where the world is going to be? I think that's the limited point that I'm trying to create, which is try and have a point of view of the world that we will be living in, and then architect that world for your users. But in this search for the truth, the challenge we have is that we tie ourselves into knots. And what happens is there's no room to set sail and explore these new horizons when we've already created something very complex, a little stodgy, and that's, I think, where the challenge is. Boil the proposition into something simple to understand. Use consistent messaging, use simple UX. That gives you room to grow and evolve, because otherwise you're going to be stuck in a knot of your own making. And that's what's going to allow us to actually imagine where the user is going to be 3 years, 5 years from now, and build a service for them. The third point, and this is a young industry, don't be afraid to take calculated risks. The industry will continue to grow, right? But disruptions are what make the difference in switching trajectory, moving into widening orbits, higher and higher and away from where we are today. There have been disruptions in the past. There's been a data-led disruption with Geo. The lockdown was another such disruption. But these are typically secular in nature. They help all OTT players. I think that we all need to find those disruptions that can astonish and delight your users, so you stand out from the crowd. For Voot, Big Boss OTT was one such disruptor. We pioneered putting marquee content exclusively on digital. We broke all the rules of the game just to serve our users. We pivoted an iconic show that had been running for 14 seasons in an episodic rhythm every year in favor of a 24/7 live stream. We thought that was what our users would want. We dropped a tried and tested format from 15 weeks to 6 weeks because we thought our users would appreciate that. We brought on a new anchor and to replace the legendary Salman Khan, which was a huge risk in and of itself. We thought our users would be okay with that, and they actually embraced it. We drove a digital first proposition built on live interactivity, immersive experiences, and we drove it in the market with a new sales team who had never done any of this before. Very eager, but we hadn't done this. And we put this all together in the space of 2 months, from start to finish. Actually, that's another mini principle right there. If you're convinced of going ahead, do it quickly. You'll find the universe conspires to make ambitious plans come together. Teams come together, partners get excited, everyone's stretching, and the user benefits. So that, I think, is a mini principle we also embrace out there. It was an incredible success story, I have to say. Big Boss OTT was an outstanding milestone for Voot. I probably would have shared another story with you guys if it wasn't. But the real value is not in the radical platform growth we achieved, the revenue story, dominance on social, even record-breaking, unprecedented 1,000-hour live stream, never been done before. The real breakout for us is we know so much, much more than we did 3 months ago, that it just makes us that much more capable as a platform to serve our users. And that, my friends, is priceless. Knowing it, and then of course you have to want to step through the door, but there's nothing that short circuits that faster than actually doing. And I have a final principle, which is build a team or participate in a team that lives for this journey. Not everyone is cut out for the buffets of an adventure like this one. There are no roads to success. There's only unpaved tracks. There's sort of a compass somewhere to guide you. And there's many, many khaddas, ravines along the way, right? So try and join teams of like-minded explorers who are looking to change the world, who are not looking to hold on to the comfort of the familiar and the present. These guys make for great companions in this journey. Every time you fail, and believe me, you will. If you aren't failing, you aren't trying enough. You will fail many, 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 many times. And you need someone to dust you off, get you back on your feet, and keep going. I'm not just speaking of employees or colleagues. I'm speaking of entire teams across content creators, distribution partners, solution providers, tech consultants, so many, many others who help shape this ecosystem. Find like-minded people for your journey. And those that have this DNA of exploration, it will really serve you well along the way. That, candidly, is all I can bear to speak in a monologue over a video conference. Very, very difficult to do this, but a pleasure to be here with you. Thank you so much for your patience and indulgence. Wish you all the best for a fantastic day. I hope the rest of it is as engaging, if not more, and you learn a little something along the way. All the best, guys.
Thank you so much, Mr. Gaurav, for sharing your wonderful insights and sharing your knowledge on digital content and OTT platforms with all of us. Once again, would like to thank you.